Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the video. This is by far my biggest, most important CGC unboxing that I've done so far. But before we get into that, if you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button down below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. If you don't like the video, really let me know and hit that dislike button 2 times too. So, for those of you who are new to the channel, my name is Justin Birch. I'm a professional comic book letterer. Before I was making comics, I was collecting them. And a lot of times in this hobby, you'll hear people say that they want the hobby to fund itself. And so I finally started subscribing to that notion, and I've been buying some collections here and there. So, what I have here are 10 books back from CGC. Some of them I'm keeping for my own personal collection, and others I graded just for the sole purpose of selling. These came from 2 collections that I bought in August, and one of the books in here is truly it's a unicorn, it's a ghost, whatever you want to call it, and you'll see why when we get to it. So first up, the first book I got. Now this is for my own personal collection, so I'm keeping this one. We got the, of course, Amazing Spider-Man number 298. And oh, I'm sorry, I'm a little unprepared. I had, there we go, my grades pulled up. Okay, so full disclosure, these were pressed and cleaned by the comic chiropractor, and you could just follow him on Instagram. Dustin does great work. He sent along what he thought the grades would be, and so we'll look at what he said and what they came back. So the first one, Amazing Spider-Man number 298. Now Dustin said this would come back a 9294, and of course it came back a 94. So this is for my own personal collection, so I'm really happy and excited for that grade. So moving along, this next book came from a collection that I bought in August. Uh, it was about an hour and 15 minutes away, so I did have to drive and pick it up. But it was about 2 short boxes, and there was some really good stuff in there, which you'll see later on. So the first book that I'm going to show from that collection is Amazing Spider-Man number 529. Now, the important thing to notice here is that it is the 299 newsstand edition. I thought that that was important enough to get graded. The grade on this, Dustin said it would be a 9.4 to 9.6, and it came back a 9.6. There you go. I'm undecided if I'm going to keep this one or not. I love this cover, but if it sells for a significant price, I don't see any reason in holding on to it. The next book up from that same collection as the previous book, it is Ultimate Comics Spider-Man number 1. It's the second appearance of Miles Morales. Dustin said he believed it would come back a 9294, and it came back a 96. So that's a win. That's a huge win. I am definitely for sure keeping this one in my own personal collection. It'll yeah. I'm just it was a nice, cheap, easy way to pick up this book. Okay, this next book was not part of any collection that I purchased. Years and years ago, a friend, or I'm sorry, someone reached out to my wife and said, "Hey, my brother has this comic book collection. He doesn't know anything about comics. He doesn't know if anything's worth it. Anything in there is worth anything." Excuse me. So we went and we looked at his collection, and unfortunately, at the time, it was all DC, and I know nothing about DC. I'm working on it, but at the time, nothing. And at the time, I wasn't buying collections because space was a little bit more limited. But one of the books that he gifted me, I offered to pay him for it. One of the books that he gifted me for coming down and just sort of letting him know, hey, this you should take the books here. This is what you should do with them. Was this copy of Tales of Teen Titans number 44. Now, if you've seen some of the previous videos, especially my Baltimore Comic Con pickup, You know that I picked this book up in a 9.8, and the reason why I did that is because I didn't think that this copy here, this one, would hit a 9.8. Dustin said that he thought it would come back a 9.294, and it came back a 9.6. So this is my second copy. I have a 9.8. Now I have a 9.6. This one will be for sale. So yeah. Next book up is this really great Civil War #3 variant cover. It's the Michael Turner variant. Just that fantastic Iron Spider over top of Cap's shield. Um, I thought there was a scratch on the back, but there's not. It's just a little piece of dust or fuzz. The Dustin, when he originally looked at this, he said, "Yeah, I don't think it's worth getting graded." I said, "I think it's going to stay in my personal collection, so let's get it graded anyway." And Dustin said, "Okay, cool." He said, "That's a really great cover. I think it'll look great in slabbed." And so he said he thought it would come back a 9.496, and it came back a 9.8. So now I can't decide if I want to sell it or hold on to it. First world problems. We'll see. Let me know down below in the comments if you would keep it or if you would sell it yourself. So what I did was I actually sent Dustin about 20 books, and he went through them, and he's like, "Yeah, grade this one. Don't grade this one. This one's worth getting graded." So basically, he was my pre-screen. He's the one who went through and said, "Yep, this one is worth grading. If you're going to sell it, this one is not." So that's why you're seeing so many of these, because a lot of them were worth getting graded. This next one, from that same collection that I keep talking about, Young Avengers #1. This is actually my third copy that I've ever had. The first one was a 9.2. The second was a 9.4. Dustin said that this was going to come back a 9.6 or a 9.8. And I told myself if it came back at 9.8, I was going to keep it for myself just because it's one I've been trying to get for so long. And it came back a 9.8. So this one is staying in the personal collection. Third time's the charm. I finally have a 9.8 in this book. Next up, a book that's got some surprising value to it. This is Amazing Fantasy #10. It's the first appearance of the Vampire by Night, who I believe is the niece of the Werewolf by Night. This collection that I bought had a full run of Amazing Fantasy from issue 1 all the way up, and we're gonna see the next book is a book from that set as well. So Dustin said that he thought this would come back a 9.6, 9.8, and it came back a 9.8. So some surprising value in this book. It's like a $200 to $300 book in a 9.8. So this one is definitely for sale. I should probably try to sell it now because Halloween's next week, week after. I don't really know what today is. Okay, next up, same collection. We have Amazing Fantasy #10. It's the first appearance of Amadeus Cho. Dustin said that he thought it would come back a 9.294, and it came back a 9.6. So there you go. Another book that I think I'm gonna sell this one. I think if it were a 9.8, I'd debate it, but yep, it's definitely for sale. Two more books to go. I'm gonna move this stack because it's getting a little scary. So bear with me here for 1 second. Don't drop them. Don't drop them. Don't drop them. Okay. Okay. So this next book is from a different collection. I bought it in August. It was about 4 long boxes worth of comics, and there was some real like indie, like early '90s indie stuff. And I'm not talking like um, Ninja Turtles indie or stuff like that. I'm talking like uh, black and white people printed in their basement indie stuff, which some, surprisingly, some of that stuff is worth some money. Um, but there was one book in the collection that I saw that I was like, all right, this is something that I should try to pick up. And that book was Batman Beyond #1. Um, the funny thing about this collection also was that as I was flipping through it, I went, all right, Batman Adventures 1, there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'm like going up, and my heart is racing as we're getting closer. And I get to 10, and then I hit 11, and I'm like, okay, here we go. We're gonna have a different conversation if the next book is what I think it is, and the next book was 13. Somebody had already picked out the 12, but that's okay. There was a Batman Adventures Harley Quinn Mad Love in there, so at least I got the second appearance of Harley Quinn out of it. But anyway, back to this book. We got Batman Beyond #1. Dustin said he thought it would hit a 9698. It came back a 96. This is the only book that I'm really sort of disappointed in. I was really hoping for that 98. But in the end, I might crack it and resubmit it and see if I can get that 98. The the issue with it hitting a 98 is I think I'd be tempted to keep it for myself if it hits a 98. So as it stands right now at a 96, I'm less tempted to keep it and sell it. So just so everybody knows, the collection that I got this from, the 4 short boxes, I paid $225 for the collection. So this book alone, it covers that. It gets my money back plus a little bit of profit, and then I will just sort of sell all that other stuff that came in it at some point. Okay, and here we are at the end. This is the biggest book. It is the most important book. It's not hyperbole when I say that it is a unicorn. It is a ghost. For those of you who are unfamiliar with that term, what it means is it's a book that doesn't exist, a book that you don't ever find, that you don't ever see. And this book, it checks off every one of those criteria for it to be considered a ghost or a unicorn. In fact, I'm calling this a unicorn ghost because of how rare it is. I still have it in its plastics in the plastic CGC sent it in because I don't want it to get scratched or anything like that. So we're going to take that off. And this book is Ultimate Comics Spider-Man #1, the second appearance of Miles Morales. And the important thing to note there is, if it'll show up, then it's a newsstand edition. So this was part of that collection that the Young Avengers came from, that the Amazing Fantasy came from, the Ultimate Comics Spider-Man #1 Direct Edition came from. This was from that collection. So the thing about this book was Dustin thought that it would hit a 9496. The 96 last sold for I think approximately $2,500 in June of 2022. So when I heard 96, I thought, oh my God, I'm going to get rich, right? But that's only if it hits a 96. So this book here, it's hard to find, and it's hard to find in high grade. And Dustin was just as excited for me when I found it as I was. So the book came back, and it came back a 9.8. That's right. This book is a unicorn because it doesn't exist. We do not believe that there is another 9.8 in existence. We think this is the only one because there is no sales data on an Ultimate Comics Spider-Man #1 newsstand edition and a 9.8. Unfortunately, there's no way to tell on the registry, on the CGC registry, on the census, excuse me, because they don't tell the difference between a newsstand and a direct edition. So until someone shows me otherwise, this is the only one. This is the only one in existence. It's the second appearance of Miles Morales in a 9.8, the newsstand edition. This book is incredible. It's amazing. Thank you, Dustin, comic chiropractor, for doing his magic on it. Um, this is the part where you would expect me to tell you that this book is for sale. Unfortunately for you, but fortunately for me, the book is already sold. I sold it before the books were even back in my possession. and it is it's amazing. The best part, and this is the part where a lot of you are probably either going to hate me, you're probably going to get sick, or you're going to think that it's a huge win. This came from that collection that I've been talking about, that I've been showing books about this whole time. It was 2 short boxes full of books, and I paid $5 for the entire collection. That's it, $65. So you got to think that this book cost me below 50 cents. You throw in pressing and cleaning fees, the grading fees, the shipping fees to get it to Dustin, to get it to CGC, to get it back to me, to get it sent out to the new buyer. I think conservatively, I probably have anywhere from $100 to $150 in this book, and that is just amazing. Um, I'm definitely taking the money from this book, and I'm looking at an Amazing Spider-Man #3, the first appearance of Doc Ock. Um, would is that a trade that you guys would make? Would you essentially trade this book for a Silver Age Spider-Man first appearance, a classic villain like Doc Ock? Let me know in the comments down below. So yeah, that was the CGC unboxing. 10 books, 10 amazing books. If there was anything that you saw here that you might want to purchase for yourself, please hit me up on Instagram. It's Justin_Birch_letters. Let me know how you thought I did on this unboxing, on the collections that I bought, just what your thoughts are in general. I really don't believe I'll ever find a collection as good as this one again, but that's not going to stop me from trying. I'm going to keep checking. I'm going to keep trying to hit yard sales and flea markets and Facebook Marketplace, and just do what I can to find these great books and pick out what I want, sell off the rest, and whatever profit I make will go towards the purchase of those Silver Age Spider-Man books that I'm needing for my collection. So until next time, remember everybody, I sorry about the mess, and take care, everyone.